My name is Pierce Donnelly. I'm a student of the business program at EMU. I'm a junior, and I'm here to interview today. And with
my name's Isaiah, and I am a runner for EMU for the indoor and outdoor track, and I am a junior as of right now, and we're here with assistant coach for the volleyball men's team. For our first introduction question, can you just introduce yourself a little bit and your role as a coach, and describe specific situations where you face difficulty in your leadership?
Yeah, so like I said, my name is Nathan, but I go by Nate McGee. I'm assistant coach here. Was a player here for 3 years, and this is my second year coaching. Some situations that
where you face like difficulty in your coaching, like it could be a game, practice.
Yeah, I think actually I think it was last year. Our head coach was like gone for a week, and he was like, you have to plan practices, you have to do all this, kind of just do everything we do for a week, but I'm doing it by myself. And so I was so overwhelmed. I'm like, how am I gonna manage 17 guys by myself? How am I gonna do all this? Yada yada yada. So lo and behold, I wrote down practices for every day, try to make them as fun as possible. And like when I didn't think I was like gonna do it, I actually did it. And it was a time though practice kind of like started slipping, and I didn't realize, like I was like, okay, what do I do? I don't have anything to pivot off of. And I was kind of lost for a second. I didn't know what to do. I got frustrated. I may have yelled at practice. I don't even know, but it was just like it was a moment where I felt like so lost and I had no control, and I was just like, I don't even know how a coach does this. But
I remember you threatening him to take this out.
yeah, no, I was super pissed, and but I didn't know what to do at that point. I also didn't have any person to lean on, so I think I stopped practice for a little bit. I think we talked. I kind of told them how I was feeling. I wanted to hear how they were feeling. I feel like you should never fight fire with fire, so I wanted to simmer down and just see what they were feeling this practice. So I think that was the biggest thing I learned from that, just having like active communication, really, on how I was feeling. What can we change to make it better?
So Nate, we're gonna ask you some questions about your leadership and time as an assistant coach, and we're mainly gonna be looking at how you handle leadership diversity and leadership identity. Especially, I mean, I know you, and I know you came as a player to a grad assistant coach, so we'll definitely want to hear about that. But yeah, first I want to ask, what do you think are the leadership qualities you bring to your role that have been effective this year as a coach?
I think this year, I think I've taken a lot more initiative to do things just because I'm a little more comfortable in my role. So I would say initiative is one. Being a better listener is the second one. I think you can always lead, but you also have to listen, because it's a lot of ideas you might not even know about, and a lot of things you can learn from doing that. Also, just trying to improve my communication. I kept a lot of things, I wouldn't say on the back burner, but I procrastinated a lot. So trying to be active and communicating early and over communicating is something I think is improved. And also just the confidence in myself. I didn't have confidence in myself, some as a player, and it kind of grew, but as a coach, I didn't have confidence beginning, and then now this year, I've gained more confidence and found a voice. So those are, I think I made a name 4 or 3.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's fair.
How important is it for representation for coaching staff for players?
How important is it for representation?
Yeah.
As in just like being there for them. It's always important. I think, especially for me, I think I would want to see someone, if I was in the athlete's shoes, which I was, I would always want someone to kind of be in my corner, like an advocate for me, whether that's just for mental health or just for tips or just being like personable. I always think that's important to keep them engaged and even just believing in themselves and believing in the goal of the team. I think that's important as at least in my role. I think as a head coach, it's a little less important, only because you have to focus on more things, but I think overall, like, in my age and what I do, I think it's very important to be showing up for your athletes all the time.
That's great. And where do you think diversity comes into play for you in leadership and dealing with a diverse group of, athletes that all have different needs? Like, what kind of skills do you think help you, and what have you done? Like, what have you experienced in the past
But definitely, like I was talking about earlier, just listening. A lot of times, it's a lot of different cultures on our team, and when I played, it really wasn't like that until like my junior, senior year. And I think at the time, what I learned is a lot of people didn't want to hear those different perspectives and those different opinions because they grew up how they grew up. But I think that's what kind of makes us a better team because we all come from different backgrounds, different styles of ball, different ways to communicate, and I think that's something that can improve a team rather than tear them down. So I guess to answer your question is just can you replay that question one more time? Actually?
Yeah, like where does leadership play in the diversity of the team?
Yeah.
And handling that.
Honestly, just being straight up with them. Honestly, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Spanish speaking players on the team, so one thing I have been doing is trying to improve my Spanish. Or if we do have some gay players, just being open, just trying to relate to them a little more, trying to understand how hard it was just to come from where they came from to now and how they might be looked at, trying to be an ear to listen. Or if we have players that are just quiet or outgoing, they might just have things that they don't want to talk about, and I just love to pick their brain and understand them on a deeper level because, yeah, I'm your coach, and yeah, we see each other on the court, but we're also people at the end of the day, and we also need help at times, so I just always want to be there for them in any way I can.
Yeah.
Have you faced any challenges in your coaching career or athletic career, and how does it work?
Yeah, I guess both go hand in hand. Athletic career, I wasn't super confident in my game, and it didn't translate to my game at all. I was a very quiet speaker. I didn't make eye contact at all with anyone. I didn't have that chip on my shoulder. Even as going into a coach, I didn't have that confidence. I didn't believe myself to do anything. I didn't believe to lead anyone. I didn't think I could do that, and I had to quickly realize that's not how I'm going to progress at anything. If I just stand in the back burner and not say anything, no one's going to listen to me. I'm not going to have eyes on me. So I wanted to change that. So my junior, senior year, I started speaking up more. I started going harder at practice. I started being the example that I wanted people to be. And even for coaching, I started speaking up a little more, even if I felt awkward talking in front of people. Even if I didn't believe what I was saying, I was like, I have to kind of sell it in a way that they understand that I care, which I do. But in my mind, I might be nervous, so I can't let them see that. So those are the things that I think that kind of made me a better coach and player to the hardships.
Yeah, no, that sounds something we talked about. We learned something called imposter syndrome, and that's like when you're put into a role or you have a role and you don't feel equipped for it, and you feel like you're falsely in that role.
Yeah.
So, would you say that's what you went through? And if you did, what kind of tools do you think you would advise us if we were to fix something like that?
I would advise you guys not to care about outside opinions. Because I think at the time I was just worried about how someone would look at me, or if I do say something that doesn't make sense, is someone gonna believe in me, or little things like that. At some point I was just like, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna do it anyway. Rather, if it's coaching, I might say something and I'm not getting feedback or I'm not getting the eyes looked on. I'm just like, okay, but I just have to say it because at the end of the day, who's gonna believe you other than yourself? So believing in yourself and just not caring what everyone else thinks, really.
What advice would you give to young Black athletes or coaches that want to do more into leadership?
I would say definitely one is network. I've been learning that a lot in the past year, just networking, because you can always learn something from anyone, especially someone that's older than you. So I always try to network. Another one would just be shoot for the stars. I feel like when I came out of high school, I didn't think I was like D1 caliber. Didn't think I was D2 caliber at all, but lo and behold, I was. But no one was in my ear telling me these things, like you could do this, you could do this. All I'm hearing is maybe you can't. So just shoot for the stars because you never know what can happen, man. Like life is definitely like changing and evolving, and technology is getting better. So using all those tools and just getting your name out there and getting yourself out there, that's the advice I give for any coach, any player just trying to elevate their game. Just put yourself out there because you never know what can happen.
And that's great. A little bit back to the topic of leadership identity. Where do you think that has come in as an assistant coach instead of the head coach, and how you interact with the team?
That's interesting. I think I didn't really know what it would look like being an assistant coach, but then as I got in, I started realizing my role. It kind of just started shaping itself. I realized it became like a bridge between our head coach and the players. I know both perspectives now, but how can I create a balance where we can communicate in a healthy form of communication at least, and also keep the dynamic that I don't want to use the word superior, but just like I am higher up. So I do want to have that respect from both parties. Because it was times, at least last year, I was caught in the middle, still being looked at as a player rather than a coach, from the coach and the players still looking at me like that. So trying to figure out where I fit in on that. I also went to coach for advice. It wasn't really the best advice, so I started reaching out to people outside of the volleyball community to see how they did it in their organizations, or any advice they would give to me if they were caught in that. So just talking, asking the questions really that I didn't know existed.
All right, one more question from me is, how do you think, because this is your second year of coaching, how do you think, I know you touched about this earlier a little bit, but what do you think is the biggest changes that you made between your first and second year? And if you could provide like an example of like what kind of brought that upon, or what made you recognize like, oh, this is something I want to change or need to change.
So like I had an end of the year evaluation with my boss or head coach or whatever, and it was, just being frank, it was shitty, just because I didn't do good at my job, the best at my job as I probably could have been. And so I saw the areas that I was lacking in, which was like communication, confidence, kind of using my time wisely. My time management kind of slipped too, because I was also trying to manage school and just trying to understand this new role and how I would be taking an effect of these players, because I never did this before in my life. So So this is interesting. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, so what kind of like tools or what kind of like challenges help you identify the problem, and then like how did you go on to fix that?
So just to keep going, just recognizing my flaws, because I didn't want to realize where I was doing bad at until I saw it on paper. And then this year, kind of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable in the aspect of talking, or like I said earlier, taking initiative, doing things that ahead of time, so I didn't wait until the end where I was procrastinating. Just kind of writing everything down so I have my time management in order, so I can keep them in line and keep myself in line too. And also with the school too, managing that, I tried to get all my assignments done ahead of time, because I knew I had class on Wednesdays, which was like 4 hours, which took up a pretty good chunk of my day. So just trying to get everything in line, and like I also said, ask the questions even to the players and to the coaches whenever I'm confused at, not being afraid to get those questions answered.
Just basically answer my question. I was going to ask you, how does success look to you moving forward now that you got that feedback going into next season?
I would say, honestly, I would just say for me, just keep my players' academics on point, just keeping them above like a 3.0. For me, I don't know why, I've gravitated more to that, just seeing my players succeed more, whether that's on and off the court. I just like seeing that way more, and also and just improving my time management. Like, it's gotten a lot better from last year, but I feel like it's always ways I can keep improving that, and trying to give the nuggets that I've learned from coaching and kind of playing too, passing that on to them, and making sure we have that dialogue where you can just come to me if you need help with like a class or girl advice, or just advice in general in life. I want to be like that filter for them to just come to.
That answers a lot of our questions. Do you have any last words you'd like to give? This is this is for our leadership class. So for the young leaders that are watching this, that maybe stepping into those roles as a young adult, like what kind of focus do you think they should have?
I think just sometimes not being afraid of the moment, the big moment, even the little moments. Sometimes you're put in uncomfortable positions, and in your mind you're like, I can't do this, but you really never know what you can do until you do it. So just putting yourself out there, just trying it, because you never know. If you fail, like, you're gonna learn from it, and it might be embarrassing, but you can go back and do it again. And you can probably teach someone to do what you did, and they might do it better, and you can learn from them, but you also added something new. So that's some advice I would definitely just give to them. Oh, also just ask questions now, like, I know my pride got in the way a lot from like even when I was a player. As a coach, I've always felt like I had it under control when I really didn't. So just putting your pride aside and just saying, hey, like I need some help sometimes, or what do you think about this? Getting a second pair of eyes, I think that's definitely the best thing I would say.
Yeah. Well, you know, it sounds like I mean, even like when you weren't in a leadership position, that is like a leadership skill to like determine where you're at and still recognize, you know, taking that step or not being afraid. That's the skill of manifesting in its own right. But no, that's great. And you have anything else? All right. Well, thank you, Nate, and we appreciate your time.